Hello, Facebook, and welcome to um, the Empower Half Hour. I'm going to give it a few minutes. Oh, I think I just came live now. Welcome to this week's Empower Half Hour. I'm going to give it a few minutes until and see if some people join in. This week's Empower Half Hour is entitled I just found out my child is autistic. Now what? I want to give a little disclosure, I guess, that I am not an expert in this area. I can only give my opinions and my experience from being a speech language pathologist, both in a special education school setting and in a private practice for over 24 years. So, this is going to be pretty much my perspective and ideas and strategies that I have either learned from other parents or other professionals, um, or have experienced by helping and supporting other professionals or parents through various processes. Um, Last week, I'm sorry, I apologize, we had to cancel. I have been pretty sick. Definitely feeling better. That time of year, change of time, crazy weather. Um, Again, just killing some time to see if anybody joins in here. We'll give it a few more seconds and then I will just ramble away with what I have and go from there. So far in our power half hours, I have discussed what is neurodiversity, really quickly dove into that. 2 weeks ago, we talked about Gestalt language processing. After our lives, I have started creating blogs. So on my website, so you can go to there. I did link the blogs in the within the group. If you would like to refresh, you can always email me if you have any other questions. I have lots of resources, books, documents, strategies. You can always reach out if you have any questions, or please, I really would love if more people would ask questions within the group for specific things. Right now, the hot topic is early intervention. I just posted a draft letter or a letter that you can copy and paste into the website that I also linked for Governor Hochul to provide your support for the early intervention crisis that we are currently in. So, first things first, let's get into my child is autistic. Now what? I did write down some notes. So, first and foremost, I would say, and I talk about this with a lot of my families that I support and a lot of professionals, that first, I think you need to, or I would suggest, sitting with the idea that your child is autistic or neurodivergent. It's almost a grieving process that a lot of parents go through. You're going to grieve the child in the family that you thought you may have or thought you were going to have. And now you really want to, I guess, grieve for a lack of a better word. Make peace with the family that you thought you may have in order to allow space to really embrace the family that you're now going to have and the child that you now have, and really embrace that child and all of their strengths and um, prepare yourself for the journey that you're now going to be on. And I always say that you're going to be it's a journey or a marathon. It's not a sprint. You want to take it one day at a time, um, and really embrace your child that you now have. I mean, it's been she has been your child the whole time, but now that you have a diagnosis, it actually opens up a lot of doors for support for your family. So the second thing that I would say would be to consider having you or your spouse or the both parents of the child um, evaluated, because more times than not there is a very strong genetic component, and if you understand your support needs, it might better help you to support your autistic child. um, you might realize, like, oh wow, I understand, why I couldn't wear those socks, or why I couldn't be in specific social situations for too long, or why I never understood what people were talking about in certain social situations. Now that you have an autistic child or a neurodivergent child, you might say, wow, that explains a lot. And now start your learning and education journey, research journey. That's my next point, would be to research and educate yourself as much as you can. There are a plethora, there are a ton of Facebook groups about autism and special education, advocacy, um, special needs. I'm in a lot of these groups, and a lot of information that is posted in these groups is either outdated, or people are pulling from other sites, Instagram, Facebook, and reposting them as if they have a strong knowledge base in specific areas. Let's just pick Gestalt language processing. Um, do your research. Vet therapists, vet advocates, vet your educators. Vet anybody that you may hire for support or speak to for support. Ask what their credentials are, ask what their qualifications are, ask what their certifications are, their experiences. Um, Life experience does account for a lot, but within education, and specifically special education, research and best practices are consistently changing. It's very, very fluid. And what works for one person is not a blanket statement for everybody. What works for, and maybe this autistic child needs headphones, but that's not going to work for the next autistic child. Maybe they're too tight, maybe they're too covering, maybe they just need little um ear covers, not the whole big headset. It's for everything. I would say more times than not, an autistic individual is going to be a Gestalt language processor, which is not right or wrong. It's just a different way that they process language, different way that they learn language, different way that they communicate. And so I would really, so go back to my point, really educate and research about information about autism, about support needs, about ABA and the different therapies that are out there, because again, ABA isn't the only answer. um, and that's again another conversation in itself, ABA. And I believe I said this in my Gestalt language processing or the neurodiversity. I had a parent recently say to me, ABA saved my child's life. And now that child is 20 years old, but now they're having all of this difficulty and all these challenges and extreme anxiety and depression. And you know what? My answer to them was like, I know in the moment you might have thought that ABA was saving your child's life. But look at maybe all of the trauma and damage it has caused. Look at the end result. Look at the difficulty and the challenges that your child has now. They have difficulty advocating for themselves. They have difficulty communicating. I have to stop saying so much. um, but really research. Ask your speech therapist, ask your OT, ask your teachers, ask for books to read, podcasts to listen to, research papers. I know it's a whirlwind, and you have a child that may be very high support need in school, but lower support need at home, or vice versa, low support need in school and a high support need at home because maybe they're masking all day long. there's a lot of terminology out there. There are a lot of support strategies out there. Do your research. I find that Facebook is a great place for families to. There are a lot of groups specifically for Long Island that are, there are a lot of special education groups. There are a lot of autism groups. There are a lot of um, special needs groups, Facebook groups uh, that families on Long Island go to. But I do find that the information, and maybe it's just my algorithm because of what I research and look at on Instagram, I do find that if you are on Instagram, I find Instagram to be a better place to stay up to date on the newest research, newest strategies, different strategies, and supports for autistic children. And I can absolutely, if you would like a list of people, it's therapists, occupational therapists, speech therapists, educators, advocates, even BCBAs who are quite controversial right now. ABA is quite controversial, but there are a lot of professionals out there who are asking to learn more about being neurodiversity affirming and how to support autistic children in different and or more affirming and supportive ways to connect with them. Um, and then I would say, after all of that, after you've sat with it, after you've come to terms with it, after you're ready to embrace your child, know that you're going to be on this journey. It's a sprint, not a marathon. Consider having you and your partner, or the child's parents possibly evaluated to get a little more insight about yourself and your own needs, which will help you to be able to support your child more. Research and educate yourself. It's going to be constant. um, and it sounds like a lot, and I know it's so much because you're working through schedules and eating and changing and clothes and sleeping, and they're not sleeping. How do I get them to sleep? How do I potty train them? How do I get on a schedule? How do I get on a routine? How do I, meet them where they're at and get on their level? Um, and on top of all of the things, trying to stay on top of the research and on top of the education and on top of all of the changes. And then they start school, um, and trying to hopefully connect with the teachers on some level, and hope that they're able to provide you with the support that you need, and vice versa. The schools, and even if you're still in the EI or CPSE before you get into the schools, really having a strong support system and a strong collaboration with the therapists and educators are super important. Um, if your child is later diagnosed with autism, you probably already suspected it or expected it, and the educators probably also suspected it. You know, filling up their IEPs with, getting the modifications, getting the accommodations, using more affirming language that's going to help support them in a more naturalistic manner, rather than being compliance based. But there are boundaries, and there are some situations where you just, there needs to be hard and firm boundaries, and it's a fine line. But I digress from what I was going to originally say. So after the sitting with it, the research, possibly getting yourself evaluated, apply for OPWDD. OPWDD is going to be, um, by far one of the most, you know, financial and community, a very big financial and community based support system for you, your child, and your family. Get all of your ducks in a row. Jamie and I had done a 10-week series, I think, over the summer, on OPWDD. So some of those documents are in the files within this Facebook page. Jamie also has a ton of information. I saved all of the information. So if you need help within that process, um, that information is there. There are different organizations that will help you and kind of hold your hand through the process because it is a lot. But we did kind of set out a good schedule and what you need to do first things first kind of a thing. And if you get your ducks in a row and you stay on top of the paperwork and really follow that to a T, it is a lot, but the process can happen pretty quickly. Um, it's you have to stay consistent with it, which is the difficult part because life happens and you have other children, you have that child, and you have school and work and home and whatever else is happening in your life, and it does get cumbersome. Please, if you're starting the OPWDD process, or if you are in the middle of the process, feel free to ask questions in this group. You can always call OPWDD, the front door, whoever your case manager is, and ask them questions. Kind of be the squeaky wheel. Just keep asking questions. I did this, now what's next? I did this, now what's next? Get the evaluations, get all of your paperwork, uh, get everything that you need, schedule the appointments, and depending on your child's age, once you get that tabs ID, then you have money that is owed to you, or money that can be reimbursed to you for different things that you're purchasing within your home. you know um, a lot of autistic children love the swings that hang from the ceiling. That's something that can be covered through OPWDD. Um, Play areas. If you want to set up a quiet, calm area in your house, great idea for any age child, and really starting to co-regulate with them to help them learn how to self-regulate, understanding when when you're dysregulated and how it might lead to their dysregulation, or when they're dysregulated, really learning about. And again, I have books on, books I can recommend on simple quick books on co-regulation, and learn what it's all about and how to just be there in the moment with them when they're having a difficult time, when they're dysregulated or having a meltdown, and unable to communicate with you what they need in that moment, and going through it with them after they become calm. But you might want to set up a calm area in your room, in their bedroom, if you have a spare room, a spot in the living room, whatever would be most beneficial or helpful, wherever your child likes to go, and fill it with puzzles and coloring or music, headphones, sensory items. A lot of those items can be reimbursed through OPWDD. And then after the age of 8, you have to go through the process again, and then it becomes self-direction. But you really want to start that process, I would say, even before everything else. You want to start that process as soon as you can. Um, and again, I'm still learning the process. I'm just learning about it really, over the last, I would say, almost year. But I do know how helpful it can be for financial reimbursement and community engagement and reimbursement within the community. I would also join NSASA. Excuse me. NSA is NSASA. Is the Nassau Suffolk Autism Society of America. They have a wonderful program, and it's almost like a lottery for different events. The Long Island Aquarium, bowling, Adventureland, different parks, pools, roller skating, all depending on the age of your child and what's happening. And, once you put your name on it, put your name on different events. It's like a lottery, and a certain amount of people get picked, and then that child and their immediate family get to go to, say, the Long Island Aquarium for free for the day, and they close the aquarium, early in the morning, and it's only for autistic or other neurodivergent special needs children. So you have the park to yourself with other families who have children similar to your children's needs, and it's really makes it's great for community. um, you know, in supporting a lot of families, community is important. You want to have other people that you can reach out to and talk to and have the same shared experience with you and support you on your journey. Whether it is an individual, a therapist, an educator, your own therapist. You know, when I say therapist, I mean a speech therapist, an OT, PT, um, a see it teacher, educator, a neighbor, a family member. You know, community is very important. You know, having connection with other adults who understand, who are supportive, is going to be very important on your journey. Even if it's somebody that you touch base with, you know, once a week, once a day, once a month, just to have a person to go to say, hey, this is happening, I need help, you know, do you have any ideas? And the Facebook groups are great for that. And I do hope that people start to ask more questions, because I really do have a lot of information and a lot of you know, uh, peers and other professionals that I collaborate with, and resources that I can share for, you know, there's so many different options, or I mean so many different circumstances. But if somebody says, hey, you know, I really need something with co-regulation, you said that, you know, can you make me a list of books on, or sites or Instagram people that I can, you know, OTs that you can point me in the direction of, for to help me with co-regulation, because this is something I really think that my family needs. Or, oh, I need, you know, sensory, I really want to make that calm corner, or calm area, or, you know, a tent, a teepee, um, you know, foam tent things, cushions. Um, what can I do to support my child, you know, when they need to decompress when they come home? What can I do, you know, what kind of social stories, or you know, language can I use in a social story to help my child, you know, with potty training or going to sleep, or what are some strategies? And if I don't know, and I will never say, and I by far do not know everything. And I have, you know, my circle of professionals, or even parents that I refer to, and other autistic adults that I, you know, talk to and say, hey, you know, this happened, or a parent was asking this, what do you think, by your lived experience, what do you think would be the best recommendation for this parent? Or do you have research, or can you point me in the right direction? I am not afraid to ask questions. I am not afraid to admit that I don't know everything, because nobody can possibly know everything. Um, and I will say that my strong suit and my love language is supporting autistic individuals. But above and beyond that is providing education to educators and parents, you know, consulting with parents and professionals, because I do think there is a lag on Long Island with information, uh, with research, with what's available, what can be available, what you can ask for, what you can fight for, and how you can ask for it, and how you can get the support that you need for your child. So, just kind of to review, you know, my child is autistic. Now what? Sit with it, come to terms with it, talk to somebody about it. Maybe it just reconfirms, you know, what you knew all along, and you're going to feel relieved. You know, now I have direction. Now I can, you know, make sure I have the right support needs in an IEP. Maybe I can get the right support needs in the home, whether that be speech or OT, uh, inside the home or outside of the home. Um, what their needs are, what their sensory profile is, what their communication needs are. You really want to start making a list of what their needs are. That's another thing that goes into research and education. Research things, educate yourself on, you know, what education, what communication looks like for autistic children. It is definitely different than a neurotypical child. It's definitely different than an ADHD child. Um, the autistic communication journey will be different. Are they non-speaking? Do they need a communication device? What are their gestalts? What do I need to put in? How is watching videos with my autistic child going to help support their language? Now that is going to be very different than an ADHD child, because ADHD kids, you really don't want them to be on devices, because that is really you know, creating more challenges for them. So there's another fine line. And I talk about, a lot about that on my Instagram pages. And, because it is different, the research shows and experience by other families who have autistic children, you really do. There are those shows that I posted that you want, that will help support your autistic child's language, understanding of um, different situations, going to the doctor, going to the dentist, going food shopping, traveling in the car, going on vacation. you know there's a lot of front end work when you have an autistic child, depending on their support needs. For instance, if you have a child that needs to go to the dentist, before that happens, before the actual appointment, you might want to schedule with the dentist, talk to them, say, hey, you know what? I have an autistic child. I would like to talk to you about this. Are there pictures that I can get of the setting? Can I bring my child in before the appointment? Will you help us, walk around so I could show my child the waiting room? This is what the chair looks like. This is what the sounds look like. The instruments sound like. It has a buzzing sound. Maybe your child's not going to like that. So maybe you need to have their sensory support bag with them, and they're going to need headphones for that visit. Maybe you can watch videos of on YouTube about, look, this is what the dentist is all about. The more that information you can front end information, videos, and experiences for your child before the actual experience happens, they will feel more empowered and better able to be flexible and maybe be more regulated in that situation, because you front ended the information and prepared them. You're preparing them for the unknown. The unknown for autistic children is very alarming. They do tend to go into fight or flight mode very quickly when they're experiencing or going into an experience that is unknown to them. So as a parent, and as get your therapists involved and your educators involved, and say, hey, you know what, we're planning on going on vacation. It's going to be an overnight. We're going to a hotel. What can I do to support my child? How can I prepare them? Is there a social story? Maybe you go online and, oh, you're staying at a Hilton. You're going to research Hilton's, like, this is what it's going to look like. This is the waiting room. There might be these noises. The lights are going to be bright. We're going to go in an elevator. We have to push a button and get videos on elevators. So that's kind of on the support end. And again, there's so much, and it really depends on each individual's experience, the support needs, your family makeup, what you value. What are your goals for your child? That's something that an advocate, a therapist, an educator should be asking you. That to me, personally and professionally, is the most important. What are your family's values? What do you want for your child? Um, what are your goals for them? Maybe they're little and you just want to, get through the day to day and have a structure and organization. Consistency is pretty important. But as they get older, third, fourth grade, what are your goals? Do you see them sitting for a regents? Do you think they're going to be able to do that? Do you want them to be able to be independent and live on their own and learn how to cook and clean and have friendships and their own communities as they get older, and be involved in Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or dance classes? There's so much to think about and digest. But for it's so easy for me to get off task. Sorry, I apologize. I will reel myself back in. But for the purpose of this, I don't know all the answers. But from my own experience, my I just found out my child is autistic now. Now what? OPWDD, the NSASA. Um, Sit with it, understand really figure out what your family wants and how your family is going to move forward. um what does that look like within the house and outside of the house, and your family support. Consider having you and your spouse, or the child's parents, evaluated. Research and educate. Ask for research. If you like to read, there's again podcasts, audiobooks. If you like to read a paper book, there's so much out there, and it's ever changing. So, ask the professionals in your life. Ask, if you're great at research. I really, really can't stress how much I think Instagram is important. There's a lot of great information and new information out there that is on Instagram. I'm not a big proponent of social media, but I do think that's a great educational outlet. I guess join the community groups on Facebook, but remember that everything that is posted, some things I see and it's very inciting. It makes people angry, and it's meant to like anger parents instead of support them. If you ever feel like a post is, especially around your children, I'm just speaking specifically for this, for your autistic children, for your neurodivergent children, any professional that you seek out, make sure they align with your family values. That's so important. So important. If you get a wonky feeling and you feel like this is not what I want, and you're being pushed in a direction you don't want to go, it's your right to say, you know what, thank you for your time, but I'm going to go in a different direction. That's okay. That's okay. It's okay to say, this is not what I want for my family. I need to do something else. I need to, thank you, but I'm going to, again, go in a different direction. I need a different provider. I want to, work on their sensory needs, and I don't want to work on, forcing them to name a picture. Whatever it is, I don't think this is important as, an OT, speech, an ABA, an advocate, an educator, whatever it may be. Vet research, sit with it, think about it, reach out, have your own community. And I think that's it. If I sparked your thought process in anything, if you have any questions, please leave a comment. Please DM me, send me an email, Christina at collaborativemindsconsulting.com. Please ask questions. That's how you learn. That's how you make it through this journey. You need the support. And if I don't have the answers, I can point you in the right direction. And, I can even start having other professionals on Facebook Lives, the Empower Half Hour, which I've now gone over, to give different perspectives and different information, because I think that's also important. Thank you for joining, or thank you for watching if you're watching the replay. And I will see you maybe not next week because it's Thanksgiving week. So probably the next Empower Half Hour will be the week following Thanksgiving. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the time with your family. Take a moment for yourself. Regulate. Self-care is so important. Even if it's going for a walk, you sitting in a quiet corner, sitting on the couch, popping in a book or a podcast or just some music, and make sure you give yourself and your family some grace during this time. And do enjoy Thanksgiving, and I hope it's happy and healthy. Take care.